Well, okay guys, these are the cameras that I own. I'm going to go over a few things today. This is not going to be a full review of each camera, but this is just going to be a comparison of each camera and what I use them for, because these cameras are like tools in my YouTube filming extravaganza that I do. Yeah. So I'm just going to go over each camera and what I use them for, and they all serve a certain purpose. So let's get right into it. Okay guys, well first off is my original GoPro Hero 2. I got this from a buddy of mine, mountain biking buddy of mine. I used this for my very first flights in RC. Of course, by today's standards, it is definitely heavier and bulkier than it should be. But I tell you what though, the Hero 2 always took a fantastic image. I never had any problems with it. Might go on my relic shelf. I also bought this little pack for it, so you can actually view and line up your shots, so that's pretty cool. So we're just going to set this one aside. I don't use it anymore. I would need to buy some new batteries for it because they've all gone flat. I had 3 batteries for it. We're going to take a look at the rest of these cameras. Let me bring them into shot here. So I'm just going to go over these 4 cameras, what they are and what I use them for. So I have RunCam 1, RunCam 2, Turnigy HD, which is 1080p 30 frames per second. This is the 2K version of it, which goes up to 2K 24 frames per second, I believe, and 1080p 60, which is fantastic. And the iSaw Air, which is 1080p 30 frames per second. Let's go over the RunCams to start with here. Now, RunCam 1, fantastic camera. It does everything really, really well. It has decent audio, has fantastic image quality and colors, and it's just an all-around good performer, and it's a good value for money. So RunCam did a really good job with this. This is basically their first attempt at a HD onboard camera. Now it has decent audio. It doesn't have the best audio, and I understand that we're mainly using these as flight cams, so we're gonna have a lot of wind noise. But if you happen to turn your airplane around and view yourself and say, "Hi, thanks for viewing my channel," you want to have some decent audio. You don't want to have it so muffled or anything like that. So RunCam 1, fantastic performer for me, and I use it all the time. Now RunCam 2, now this is a very this is one of my best flight recording cameras ever. The image from this is just so crisp, and the color saturation levels that they use is amazing. This also has Wi-Fi, so you can access all the functions of the camera, most of the functions of the camera. There's a few that it doesn't cover. As you guys can see, I actually have this painted white with some plastic dip, which is now rubbing off. And the only reason I did that is because the camera is super slippery. If I were to give them any advice for the next version, is to maybe use that slightly grippy paint that they have made things out of in the past, like the Mobius tended to have that. The only drawback to this camera is the audio is, I'm sorry RunCam, but the audio is horrible. It's really pretty bad. Even after the update, they did a firmware update which improved it probably by about at least 50%, but it's still not great. So if I ever turn the camera around and I'm talking to the camera, it's still pretty poor audio. So, this is my go-to onboard camera. It's decently lightweight, and it really takes a fantastic image, because when it comes down to it, flight footage is all about the image in the end. If it's not that great, then the camera's pretty much worthless. Alright, so let's move on to the Turnigy action cams. The Turnigy HD camera, this films in 1080p 30 frames per second, and it has a lot of great menu options on it. But I have to tell you, with both of these cameras, I actually upgraded the firmware to SJ4000 firmware. And that did a lot of things for both of these cameras. It actually opened up some additional features for this camera. But the most important thing, like I said before, it comes down to image. Both of these cameras, when they would shoot, it would give the sky kind of a purpley dark color to it, which was very unnatural. And that's one thing I look for in cameras. When I'm looking at the sky, and filming RC things is very important to have a very natural looking sky image. When I was looking at the sky, these cameras with the SJ4000 firmware just made the image fantastic. I mean, it really made a huge difference. So one of my biggest complaints with this camera and this camera is that, watch this, if you barely touch the on-off switch, let's say if this is in your pocket, it turns on immediately. They really need to program in like a 2-second press to turn on these cameras, because I'm constantly hearing my bag. I'll be carrying my bag, it's got all my cameras in it, all of a sudden I'll hear that little startup song, and of course I'm like, now I've got to dig into my bag and find out which camera got turned on, and it's always one of these two. That's one thing about the RunCam, 3-second turn on time, which is fantastic. It saves your batteries. Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. If you listen to the tone of this again when I'm turning this off, it has the exact same tone for turning it on that it has for turning it off. So if I am not looking at my camera and I need to do a function like turning it on or off, I would like it to be a different song so I know which one is on and which one is off. Now, this one here has a really nice LED at the top. It starts to blink when it is recording, and for some reason, this one, even though it's the same form function and everything, when I turn this on to record, I'll hit the button, and there's no indication. There's a light, there's a LED light there, and I'm not sure why it's not blinking. The only way you can tell that it's recording is on the back here, and that's blinking on the back screen. So why that doesn't do that, I don't know. Let's see this one here. All right, let's see here. So let me just show you on the lesser expensive camera here. If I hit the record button, it's blinking, and that's fantastic. It's great. That's one thing I would really like for them to improve. However, these two cameras are my go-to. Let me turn this off. These two cameras are now my go-to GoPro form factor cameras, especially the 2K when I'm doing shooting for YouTube. It just produces a fantastic image. I've had a lot of people comment on my videos saying, you know, hey, which camera are you filming that with? And this is the camera that I film with. Primarily if I want to get a good image from a GoPro form factor camera. So audio on both of these cameras is good. It's not spectacular, it's not great, it's good, it's acceptable, and I really enjoy the audio out of these guys here. All four of these cameras, both the RunCams and the Turnigys, both have live video out, which allows you to use them as FPV cameras. So that's always an important thing when we're talking RC. So, which brings us to the iSaw Air. Now there's two versions of this. There's actually a 4K version, and this is a lesser expensive version of it. It's very inexpensive. Great form factor, great menus and buttons, and what sets this iSaw camera apart from the rest is the lens. It has a really nice lens that captures fantastic color. On my channel I've done some really amazing time-lapse photography with this, and that was basically doing the sunset, and you would be amazed at how low a light that this can get a usable image. We went all the way from sunset to darkness, and this really held on to every little bit of light without getting grainy. So the iSaw Air, fantastic for that. These go on sale all the time at Hobby King, and it's a great deal. The only drawback to this is you cannot use this as a live video out flight camera. So if you want to use this as your flight camera, seeing through FPV, you can't do that. So I use this as a flight camera in front of my legit wing, which this has a pocket that just goes straight into it because it creates such a fantastic image. I also use the Turnigy 2K if I want to get really highly detailed images from these cameras. So iSaw Air, I tend to use this primarily for time-lapse. You can do the same thing with these Turnigy cameras, but I found the image just wasn't as good as the iSaw. So guys, like I said, there's just a lot of give and take with all these cameras here. So now let's talk about the camera that I'm filming on right now. Okay, so this is the camera that I was just recording with, and this is the Nikon D5200. It's a really well-reviewed camera. People were very, very impressed with it, including professionals. Now I got this 1 year late in the model year, basically, from Adorama, which is out of New York. I bought this for my wife for Christmas, and unfortunately I have actually commandeered it. Anyway, I have it set up with a Rode video mic. I'm not going to go over that on this video, but basically, as you guys probably know, audio from DSLR cameras is just not that great. Now this came with two lenses. This is the 18 by 55, which is what I was just recording with, and this is a This is a 55 to 200 millimeter lens. These are both the kit lenses. I don't have any specialized equipment for this camera, like big lenses or anything like that. But I am a photography noob. I haven't read anything about cameras besides some of his YouTube videos on how to shoot and about aperture settings a little bit. So I know a little bit about it. It's just I'm not great with it. That's why some of my videos will have some decent quality video, but others don't. You know, sometimes I'll forget to focus correctly, or I'll forget a setting. So, okay, guys. So I'm filming this on the Turnigy 30 frames per second 1080p camera. Hopefully, you gain some information about the cameras that I use, or what I use them for. It tends to be I always want to have that tool in my bag. You know, if I'm going to fly a mini quad, I'm going to be grabbing one of these cameras. If I'm going to be flying my legit wing, I'm going to be using one of these cameras. If I want to do a time lapse, I always grab my iSaw Air, which is fantastic. So, above and beyond that, I tend to do a lot of filming close up with my iPhone, actually, because it's a little smaller. I can put a little stand here on my workbench, and I can get it right between my hands. And you can get some pretty nice zooms in there as well. And I also have a macro lens cover that I can slide over there. However, that's my iPhone 5. I'm going to be upgrading to an iPhone 7, probably the Plus at some point, so I can get lots of memory on my phone and do a lot of filming from my phone. Because basically, I want to stop using this and use my iPhone for a lot of these things, because it does take pretty damn good pictures. Now, like I said, mine's an iPhone 5C, which is the cheap version of it, so I might actually upgrade and go with the Plus. Alright guys, so thank you for joining my channel. Hopefully that gives you some insight into some of the cameras that I use, some of the equipment. I'm going to do another video that's going to be all on like these tripods, accessories, pivots, hot shoes, and some sliders and whatnot. So stay tuned to my channel, guys. I'll talk to you later. Bye.